Well, David, as great as he is in our eyes, as we look at him and say, wow, he did such great things and had such a good heart, and even God says he was a man after God's own heart, he still made mistakes, and he made some pretty big ones. It says, in the spring, at the time when kings go off to war, David sent Joab out with the king's men and the whole Israelite army. So he's supposed to be, it says there, the time when the kings go to war. And then it says David sent somebody else, Joab, the commander of his armies, to go and fight this battle. Why was David not going to war like he was supposed to do? One evening David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of his palace. From the roof he saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful. So he sends some servants over to go invite this woman to come see him. Okay, so she comes, and he slept with her. Then they find out that she's pregnant from David, and that her husband is a good man, a very good man, who's one of the commanders in the army of King David. Well, they just got caught in their sin, big time. And he's the king. What was he doing stealing someone else's wife? It was very bad. And then, to cover up their sin, David says, I want to invite her husband to come back and have time with his wife. If he has time with his wife, then he'll think the baby's his. Okay, we'll work that out. The guy comes back, and the guy sleeps in the great hall of the palace where all the other soldiers are. And King David's like, why aren't you home with your wife? And he says, the soldiers are not home with their wives. I can't go back to my wife and have pleasure with her. This guy's even too good for David to compete with. It's like, oh, this isn't working. So then David tells his commander, Joab, that he wants to put this husband, Uriah, out in the front of the battle. And when he's out in the front of the battle, they're all to retreat. I think we all know what's going to happen with that. So they do this, and Uriah dies. Okay, well now they're free. Now they can go ahead and get married. It says, after her time of mourning was over, David had her brought to his house, and she became his wife and bore him a son. But the thing David had done displeased the Lord. Then the Lord sent the prophet Nathan to David. When he came to him, he said, there were 2 men in a certain town, one rich and the other poor. The rich man had a very large number of sheep and cattle, but the poor man had nothing except one ewe lamb he had bought. He raised it, it grew up with him and his children, it shared his food, it drank his cup, and even slept in his arms. It was like a daughter to him. Now a rich traveler came to the rich man, but the rich man refrained from taking one of his own sheep or cattle to prepare a meal for the traveler who had come to him. Instead he took the ewe lamb that belonged to the poor man and prepared it for the one who had come to him. David burned with anger against the man. He said to Nathan, as surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this deserves to die. He must pay for that lamb 4 times over because he did such a thing and had no pity. Remember, David had been a shepherd, so he knew what it was like to sacrifice for a lamb and take care of it and do this. So he was very upset when this prophet Nathan comes to him and tells him about this terrible, mean rich guy and this poor guy with this poor little lamb. Then Nathan said to David, you are the man. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I anointed you king over Israel and delivered you from the hand of Saul. I gave your master's house to you, your master's wives into your arms, everything. You struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword and took his wife to be your own. You killed him with the sword of the Ammonites. Now therefore the sword will never depart from your house, because you despised me and took the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your own. This is what the Lord says, out of your own household I am going to bring calamity upon you. And a bunch more stuff happened.